No one noticed the human at first. That was the mistake. Because while alarms screamed through the station and elite alien soldiers failed one by one, the only person walking toward the danger was him. Unarmed, unarmored, unimportant, and the most dangerous thing in the room. The war station cryos. 7 was dying. Lights flickered in violent pulses. Smoke crawled along the ceiling like a living thing. Every few seconds, the entire structure groaned, as if the metal itself wanted to tear apart and escape. Inside the central repair bay, bodies of Valkyr units lay scattered. Elite enforcers, genetically enhanced, bound to living combat armor. Every single one offline, except one. She stood at the center. Barely. Her name was Saras, 9, the last active Valkyr on the station. Her black armor was cracked open across the chest, glowing from internal heat. Energy bled out in unstable pulses. One more system failure, and the suit wouldn't just shut down. It would collapse inward, crushing her spine. Still, her stance didn't break. Her silver eyes scanned the room like weapons. "Stay back," she warned, voice low, sharp, controlled. No one moved closer. Not the medics. Not the commanders. They had already tried. 2 had been thrown across the room when her armor reacted violently to their touch. 1 never got back up. The armor didn't just protect her. It decided. And right now, it trusted no one. Then a voice broke the silence. Calm. Almost bored. "You keep threatening people like that, you're going to die before the enemy finishes the job." Heads turned. A human, standing near the shattered doorway. Dust-covered. No armor. No rank markings. Just a toolkit slung over his shoulder. Commander Velk snarled. "Who let a civilian in here?" The human didn't answer. He just walked forward. Straight toward Saras, 9. Every weapon in the room lifted instantly. "Stop," Velk barked. "That's a Valkyr unit. You don't even understand what you're." "I understand enough," the human cut in. He didn't even look at the commander. His eyes stayed on her. Saras, 9 shifted slightly. Her hand hovered near her pulse blade. "Another step," she said coldly, "and I end you." The human stopped. Not out of fear. Out of respect. "Fair," he said. "But if I walk away, your armor locks up completely in less than 3 minutes." That made her pause. Just for a second. "You don't know that," she replied. He tilted his head slightly. "Your left side plating is fused. Internal heat is rising unevenly. The neural sync is lagging. See the micro delay in your grip?" Silence. Even the commanders hadn't noticed that. The human took one more step. Slow. Visible. "No sudden moves," she warned. "I don't do sudden," he replied. Up close, she was worse. The armor wasn't just damaged. It was fighting itself. Energy rippled across the surface in unstable waves. Warning glyphs flickered like dying stars. The human crouched slightly. Not touching. Just observing. "What's your designation?" he asked. "Saras, 9. "Right," he muttered. "Of course it is." "You have 5 minutes," she said. "If I sense anything wrong..." "You kill me," he finished. "Yeah. I got it." He set his toolkit down. Opened it calmly. No rush. No panic. That alone made the room uneasy. Everyone else had been frantic. This human wasn't. "Why aren't you afraid?" Saras, 9 asked suddenly. His hands paused. Then continued. "Because fear makes people rush," he said. "And rushing gets you killed." That's not an answer. He glanced up at her. For the first time. And there was something strange in his eyes. Not fear. Not admiration. Just understanding. "You're not the dangerous part," he said quietly. A ripple went through the room. Her expression hardened. "Explain." "The armor," he said. "It's reacting to threat patterns. Everyone who came near you treated you like a weapon." He reached toward her shoulder. And stopped. Waiting. Not touching. Just asking without words. Seconds stretched. Then, "Do it," she said. The moment his fingers touched the armor, everything went wrong. Energy exploded across the surface. Alarm screamed. The suit surged violently. Weapons powered up on instinct. "Back!" someone shouted. But the human didn't move. He leaned in slightly, closer to the chaos. Easy, he murmured. Not to her. To the armor. And somehow, it hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second. Saras, 9 felt it. Her eyes widened slightly. It's listening, she whispered. The human exhaled slowly. Not listening, he said. Interpreting. The armor pulsed again, stronger this time. Fighting him. Rejecting him. Trying to decide. Friend or threat? The human's voice dropped. Steady. Grounded. I'm not here to control you, he said softly. The words weren't for her. They were for the machine. And I'm definitely not here to fight you. The energy spike slowed. Just a little. Around them, the entire room held its breath. Because something impossible was happening. For the first time in recorded Valkyr history, a human wasn't overpowering the armor. He was calming it. Saras 9's voice dropped to a whisper. What are you? The human didn't answer immediately. His hands moved carefully along the damaged plating, adjusting, syncing, adapting in real time. Then he said, just someone who fixes things. The armor suddenly surged again. Stronger than before. Violent. Unstable. This time it wasn't hesitating. It was choosing. And if it chose wrong, Saras 9 wouldn't just die. She would detonate from the inside out. The human's expression sharpened. For the first time, urgency. Okay, he muttered. Now, it's getting serious. Saras 9's breathing became uneven. What's happening? He didn't look up. It's testing intent, he said. And right now it thinks I might kill you. Silence hit like a shockwave. Then stop, she said instantly. But he didn't move, didn't step back, didn't even hesitate. Instead, he placed his other hand directly over the most unstable part of the armor, where the energy was strongest, where one mistake meant death, and said, then I guess I have to prove it wrong. The armor's energy spiked to maximum. Weapons activated. Target locked. And every system in the room screamed the same warning. Lethal response imminent. The armor chose violence. Energy detonated outward in a blinding surge, blue-white arcs snapping through the air like lightning trapped in a cage. Every weapon system on Saras 9's suit activated at once. Target, the human. Distance, 0. Reaction time, none. Move, Commander Velk roared. But the human didn't move. Not an inch. Instead, he leaned closer. Closer to the storm. Closer to death. His hand stayed pressed against the burning surface of the armor, skin inches away from vaporizing energy. Easy, he said again, quieter this time. You're panicking. The words sounded insane. Machines didn't panic. Valkyr armor didn't hesitate. It eliminated threats. Always. But this time, it didn't fire. The weapons trembled. Locked. Waiting. As if something deep inside the system was uncertain. Saras 9 felt it before anyone else. A shift. Not in the armor. In herself. Her breathing slowed for a single second, and the armor mirrored it. Her eyes snapped to the human. You're syncing with it, she said. He shook his head slightly. No. Another pulse of energy surged. Stronger. More unstable. His voice stayed calm. I'm syncing it with you. That was impossible. Valkyr's suits didn't follow emotion. They suppressed it, replaced it, controlled it. But the readings flooding across Saras 9's internal interface said otherwise. Feedback loops were changing. Threat responses were softening. The armor wasn't losing control. It was recalibrating. Stop whatever you're doing, Velk shouted. You're corrupting the system. The human didn't even glance back. Your system is the problem, he replied. Another surge hit. Harder. This time the armor pushed back. Violently. Rejecting him. Energy lashed across his arm. Burning, slicing. The smell of scorched skin filled the air. Gasps echoed through the bay. But still, he didn't pull away. Saras 9 felt that too. Pain. Not hers. His. And for the first time in years, something unfamiliar hit her chest. Not threat. Not calculation. Something else. Why are you still here? She demanded. You're burning alive. He exhaled slowly. Yeah, he said. I noticed. Then let go. No. The word was simple. Absolute. Another surge. Stronger. The armor began locking down internally. Final defense protocol. If triggered, it would seal permanently. Turn Saras 9 into a living weapon with no exit. No freedom. No end. The human's expression changed. Not fear. Focus. Sharp. Precise. Unshakable. All right, he said under his breath. You want hierarchy? His fingers moved faster now, diving into exposed seams, forcing access points open despite the resistance. Then let's rewrite yours. Inside the suit, code shifted. Not overwritten. Reinterpreted. Command chains bent. Priority systems adjusted. The armor fought him every step. Because this wasn't how it worked. It obeyed power, authority, dominance. But the human offered none of those. No command. No force. No fear. Only intent. I'm not your master, he said quietly. Another surge hit, then faltered. I'm not your enemy. The energy flickered. Weapons lowered by a fraction. I'm the one keeping her alive. Silence. For half a second, everything stopped. Then the armor reacted. Not with violence, but with confusion. Saras 9 felt her body loosen. Just slightly. The crushing pressure along her spine eased. A fraction of weight lifted. Her breath hitched. It's changing, she whispered. Across the room, no one spoke. Because what they were seeing should not exist. The human staggered slightly. His arm was burned, shaking, barely functional now. But his other hand stayed steady. Still guiding. Still working. Still refusing to break. Why? Saras 9 asked again. Her voice was quieter now. Not a command. A question. Why risk this for me? He finally looked at her. Really looked. Past the armor. Past the weapon. At the person inside. Because no one else is, he said. Something cracked. Not in the armor. In her. Years of conditioning. Training. Isolation. All built on one truth. Trust gets you killed. But this human was standing in front of her. Bleeding. Burning. Refusing to let go. And he had nothing to gain. The armor surged one last time. Violent. Desperate. Final resistance. Stay with me, he said firmly. His voice cut through everything. Through noise. Through fear. Through the system itself. Saras 9 closed her eyes. Just for a moment. Then, she made a choice. For the first time in her life, she stopped fighting. Her body relaxed. Not into weakness, but into trust. The armor felt it instantly. The change in neural signal. The absence of resistance. The shift in intent. And instead of locking down, it released. Energy dropped. Weapons powered down. The crushing grip along her spine vanished. The entire system reset. Silence. The human exhaled sharply. His legs nearly gave out, but he caught himself on the edge of her armor. There we go, he muttered. Saras 9 opened her eyes. Slowly. Carefully. As if the world itself had changed. Because it had. She moved her hand. Freely. No resistance. No force correcting her motion. Her voice barely held. What did you do? The human gave a faint, exhausted smile. Told it the truth. Behind them, Commander Velk stepped forward in disbelief. This is impossible, he said. Valkyr armor does not adapt like this. The human didn't turn. It does now. But before anyone could respond, the station shook. Hard. A deep, violent impact echoed through the structure. Alarm screamed again. Different this time. Worse. External breach, someone shouted. Enemy boarding wave incoming. Saras 9's had snapped toward the exit. Her instincts surged back instantly. Battle. Threat. War. But something was different now. The armor didn't take over. It waited. For her. She stood taller. Freer. Stronger. Then she looked at the human. At his burned arm. At the man who had just done the impossible. You should get to safety, she said. He shook his head. Already picking up his tools again. No, he replied. I think I just made myself part of the problem. A distant explosion tore through the corridor. Closer this time. Saras, 9 turned toward the door, then paused, because for the first time, she didn't step forward alone. And as the shadows of incoming enemies flooded the hallway, the human stood beside her, unarmed, injured, completely outmatched, but not afraid. Saras 9's voice dropped to something new. Not command, not warning, respect. Stay behind me. The human smirked slightly. We'll see. The lights died. Darkness swallowed the corridor. And from within it, something moved. The darkness didn't feel empty. It felt hungry. From the shattered corridor, something shifted, fast, low, deliberate. Not the chaotic rush of soldiers. This was controlled. Hunting. A thin red beam cut through the dark as enemy scouts scanned the bay. Multiple signatures. A distorted voice echoed. One Vodka unit active. A pause. Impossible. Saras, 9 stepped forward. Not because the armor forced her, because she chose to. The suit responded instantly, lighting along her frame, stabilizing, weapons aligning, but this time, it didn't override her mind. It followed. Stay behind me, she said again, quieter now. The human flexed his burned hand, wincing slightly. Not really my style, he replied. The first attacker lunged. A blur of metal and teeth, an exo-soldier, designed for close combat, faster than most eyes could track. Saras, 9 moved. But something was different. Before, her movements had been precise, calculated, almost mechanical. Now, they were fluid, alive. She twisted, deflected the strike, and countered in one seamless motion. The attacker slammed into the wall, armor crushed inward. Gone in seconds. More poured in. 3, 5, 10. Too many. Fall back. Velk shouted from behind. But Saras, 9 didn't move. Because, for the first time, she didn't feel alone. The human stepped beside her. Still unarmed. Still completely outclassed. But his eyes scanned everything, angles, movement, patterns. Left side, he said calmly. She reacted instantly. Blocked a strike she hadn't even seen yet. He moved closer. Not fighting. Guiding. Your right actuator, still unstable. Don't overextend. She adjusted mid-motion. Another enemy fell. The attackers hesitated. Confusion rippled through their formation. This wasn't normal Valkyr behavior. She wasn't just reacting. She was adapting. What are they doing? One of them hissed. Coordinating, another replied. With a human? The human ducked as a blade sliced past his head. Too close. Any normal person would have panicked. Frozen. Run. He didn't. Instead, he grabbed a broken panel from the ground and slammed it into the attacker's leg joint. Not to destroy it. To unbalance it. Saras, 9 finished the rest instantly. She glanced at him. You're not trained for this, she said. Yeah, he replied. I improvise. Another wave hit. Harder. Smarter. They adapted too. Flanking. Surrounding. Cutting off exits. Saras, 9 felt it immediately. Old instincts whispered. Overpower. Eliminate. End it fast. But something else answered. The human's voice. Calm. Grounded. Don't rush, he said. They want you predictable. She slowed. Just slightly. And in that moment, she saw it. The pattern. Now, he said. She moved. Not where they expected. Where they were weakest. The line broke. Across the room, Velk stared in disbelief. This isn't possible, he muttered. She's fighting like a person, another whispered. The last attacker hesitated. Just for a second. Long enough. Saras, 9 disarmed him, pinned him, and held her blade at his throat. Silence fell again. Heavy. Breathing. Smoke. The distant groan of a dying station. The enemy looked up at her. Then at the human. Something like fear crossed his face. You've changed, he rasped. Saras, 9 paused. Blade steady. Mind clear. Before, she would have ended him without a thought. Now, she didn't. Leave, she said. The entire room froze. Even the human looked at her. The enemy blinked. You're letting me go? Her grip tightened slightly. Take your survivors, she said. Tell them this station is not yours. A pause. Then, quietly, and neither am I. The enemy didn't argue, didn't threaten. He signaled retreat. And within seconds, they were gone. Silence. Real silence. For the first time since the battle began. Saras, 9 lowered her weapon. Slowly, carefully, as if testing reality itself. It's over, someone whispered. She turned. Not to the commanders. Not to the soldiers. To him. The human stood there, breathing hard, arms still burned, clothes torn. Completely ordinary. And yet, nothing about him felt ordinary anymore. You didn't just fix the armor, she said. He shrugged slightly. I told you, he replied. I fix things. She stepped closer. No threat. No distance. They'll come for me, she said quietly. The tribunal. They'll try to undo this. Maybe, he said. And if they do? He met her gaze. Steady. Unshaken. Then you decide again, he said. That hit harder than anything else. Because for the first time, she could. Behind them, Velk stepped forward cautiously. Saras, 9, you are still bound to command, he said. She looked at him. Really looked. Then she reached up and removed her helmet. Gasps filled the room. No Valkyr removed their helmet in front of command. Not voluntarily. Not ever. Her silver eyes were clearer now. Not empty. Not controlled. Alive. I was bound, she said calmly. Then she looked back at the human. Now I choose. She extended her hand. Not armored. Not weaponized. Just a hand. The human hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then took it. And in that moment, something shifted across the entire station. Not in systems. Not in power grids. In understanding. Humans weren't the strongest. They weren't the fastest. They weren't built for war. But they did something no other species had ever done. They reached into the middle of fear and chose connection instead of control. Saras, 9 exhaled slowly. A breath that felt like it had been trapped for years. I never slept, she said quietly. The human raised an eyebrow. Ever. Not since I became this, she replied. He studied her for a moment, then nodded toward the now stable armor. You can now, he said. She didn't respond immediately, because for the first time in her life, that sounded possible. Outside, rescue fleets arrived. Inside, command structures shifted. And somewhere in the chaos, a single truth spread faster than any signal. The Valkyr unit had changed, because of a human, and that terrified everyone, except her. She looked at him one last time. What's your name? She asked. He smiled faintly. Just an engineer. She shook her head slightly. No, she said. Something more. He didn't answer, but he didn't need to, because from that day forward, every species in that sector would remember one thing. When machines failed, when warriors broke, when fear took over everything, humans didn't dominate. They didn't conquer. They connected. And somehow, that was stronger than anything else. They tried to undo it. Of course they did. 3 hours after the battle, the tribunal fleet locked the station in full containment. No ships in. No ships out. Orders were issued instantly. Seize Valkyr Unit Saras 9. Purge unauthorized system modifications. Detain the human. But something was already different. Saras 9 stood at the edge of the main observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly in front of her, cold, distant, silent. For years, they had only been coordinates, targets, battle zones. Now, they felt like something else. Behind her, heavy doors opened. Armed tribunal officers entered, weapons ready, formation tight, fear hidden but present. Unit Saras 9, the lead officer said, voice sharp. You are ordered to return to compliance immediately. She didn't turn. Remove your helmet, he added. Reinitialize your armor. Submit for neural correction. Silence. Then slowly, she shook her head. I decline. The words hit harder than any weapon. You do not have that authority, the officer snapped. Now she turned. Fully. Calm. Unshaken. I do now. Weapons raised instantly. Across the room, more soldiers moved in. Dozens. Prepared for force. Prepared for resistance. Prepared for war. But Saras, 9 didn't reach for her weapon. Instead, she stepped forward. You trained us to believe we were nothing without the armor, she said. Her voice was steady. Clear. Stronger than it had ever been. You told us trust was weakness. You told us emotion was failure. You told us we were tools. She stopped just a few steps away from them. You are wrong. A ripple of unease spread through the ranks. Stand down, the officer barked. Or, we will disable you by force. For a moment, it looked like it might happen. Then, another voice echoed from behind. Try it. All heads turned. The human stepped into the room. Still injured. Arm bandaged roughly. Clothes burned and torn. Still completely out of place. And somehow, still the most unshakable person there. You are under arrest, the officer snapped immediately. Yeah, the human said casually. You've said that already. He walked forward. Right past the weapons. Right into the line of fire. No hesitation. You don't understand what he's done, the officer warned. The human stopped beside Saras 9. I do, he said. A pause. Do you? Silence answered him. Because deep down, they didn't. They understood power, control, hierarchy. But not this. Not someone standing unarmed in front of soldiers, and not backing down. Not a Vaka unit choosing not to obey. Not trust, overriding programming. The officer's voice lowered. Dangerous now. That armor belongs to the tribunal. Saras, 9 answered this time. No, she said. A single word. Final. It was given to me, she continued. But it is not me. Her hand rose slowly and rested over the chest plate. It never was. For a second, the room felt like it was holding its breath. Then, she did something no Valkyr had ever done. She disengaged the armor. Fully. The outer plating separated with a soft hiss. Energy faded. Systems powered down. And piece by piece, the weapon disappeared. Until she stood there. Not as a unit. Not as a soldier. But as herself. Unarmed. Unshielded. Uncontrolled. Gasps filled the room. She's vulnerable. Take her, someone shouted. Weapons locked instantly. And, in that moment, everything could have ended. But the human didn't move. Didn't shout. Didn't react. He just stood there. Beside her. Calm. Certain. Because he knew something they didn't. Saras. 9 wasn't weaker without the armor. She was stronger. Stand down, she said quietly. And somehow, they did. No command override. No system control. Just presence. Just certainty. Just something they couldn't explain. The officer lowered his weapon slowly. This changes nothing, he said. It changes everything, the human replied. Silence stretched again. Then, from across the station, a message broadcast began. Other Valkyr units. Survivors. Damaged. Watching. They had seen what happened. And now, they were asking the same question. If she can choose, why can't we? The tribunal felt it instantly. Control slipping. Not through rebellion. Through realization. The most dangerous kind. Saras. 9 looked back at the stars. For the first time, they didn't feel distant. They felt open. What happens now? She asked quietly. The human followed her gaze. Then gave a small, tired smile. Now, he said, you decide who you want to be. No orders. No systems. No chains. Just choice. She exhaled slowly. A breath that felt like a lifetime ending. And another beginning. Then, very softly, she said something no one expected. I think I want to sleep. The human chuckled under his breath. Good start. And somewhere in that broken station, in the silence after war, in the space between control and freedom, an alien warrior closed her eyes. Not as a weapon, but as a person, for the first time in her life. And the galaxy would never be the same.